A large storm system is moving across the United States, causing blizzard conditions and severe weather across most of the country. Right now, we're looking at the SPC outlook from today, the Storm Prediction Center outlook, and we have this big enhanced risk. So in this video, we're going to be diving mostly into the significant tornado threat and everything that we have for the next couple days. So we're not really going to be talking about that blizzard because it is intense, but we do have a very strong risk for severe thunderstorms today and tomorrow. So right now, you can see we have the Storm Prediction Center outlook from today, and we have this big enhanced risk, this big risk right here for significant severe thunderstorms today. And this is going to be mainly tornado driven and wind driven as well. So looking at this risk right here, we have two real bullseyes. But I do want to mention that everybody in this green hatched risk, you can kind of see around this, not green, but it's hatched and it's mostly in the green, has the chance for a significant tornado today. So EF2, EF3 plus possible today, but the higher likelihood of this would be happening in the 10% and 5% areas. So our 10% areas are chilling right here, and I do think this will get extended more east. I think we'll see a south and east extend in the newest outlook cycle. Whoa, that circle was not very good. But in the new outlook cycle, I think we will see this be extended a little bit more south and east, so into Mississippi, Alabama, into Tennessee overnight tonight, as some of the new models are picking up on these prefrontal storms, especially today. But we also have a second bullseye down here in Alabama near Dothan, Crestview, Columbus, Montgomery. These areas could have more prefrontal storms as the line moves through, and obviously it's going to have more moisture and more CAPE, that convective available potential energy and moisture, as it is closer to the Gulf. So we have a secondary bullseye looking at this area near Dothan and Greensville. Now, taking a look at our damaging wind threat, we're going to be seeing this main risk right here, this 45% hatched risk for wind today. So this is where we're going to see Boeing segments that can produce 70, 80, 90 mile per hour winds possibly in these pink and red areas. We could see very damaging winds today, very intense damaging winds. I do think this will get extended a little bit more east as well, as the line kind of ingests those cells and then bows out. But we could see a strong tornado and wind risk today in the Mid-South. Looking at tomorrow's risk, you can see this giant expansive moderate risk and enhanced risk tomorrow. So this enhanced risk and this moderate risk are mainly tornado driven. As you saw in our last map, we did not have a 15% hatched risk for tornadoes. So we have all that whole area from New York down to Florida for a significant tornado, but our highest chances of that are going to be in Virginia, Maryland, around DC, Baltimore, going down to Richmond, Raleigh, Fayetteville, Florence. These areas could be seeing big time tornadoes tomorrow and possibly significant. I do think we'll have a secondary hatch risk be added for these areas down south today and into tomorrow for the outlook cycles that continue, but that is going to be the main threat. Looking at wind as well, we do have that 60% chance hatched for wind, so we're also going to be looking at very strong thunderstorms with wind gusts up to 70, 80, 90, almost maybe 100 possible tomorrow. These are all, that's going to be unlikely for tomorrow, but it is possible we see wind gusts up to 100 miles per hour tomorrow, and especially in these 60% hatch risks. Remember, this hatch risk is a possibility for 75 plus miles per hour wind gusts. Now, in this video, we're going to be doing something a little bit more different. I'm going to go a little more in depth in this analysis because this is a very significant severe weather day, and tomorrow is going to be as well. So right now, this is the SPC meso analysis. So if you're not familiar with this page, don't worry. This page is basically what is happening right now pretty accurately. So it is basically showing us what is happening right now. So we're going to take a look at what's happening now, then what's going to happen in the future, and then what I think is going to happen for today and tomorrow. So right now, you can see this is our surface pressure. You can see this contour line right here. We have our low pressure system situated right about there. A 994, very strong low pressure system. So very low pressure. And you can see we have our cold front / dry line almost situated right down here. And that's going to continue around that pressure tongue, these areas of lower pressure along this cold front. And you can see kind of a pressure tongue right about here where our warm front will sit. So this warm front, if we take a look back at weather-wise, we're going to go ahead and look at this is our real-time mesoscale analysis. So this is almost like mesoscale analysis, but it doesn't have as much products, and it just takes observations. Not the SPC takes the model data as well. Not this is all surface data. So you see our surface low would be situated somewhere around here near Kansas City. You can see our cold front / dry line kind of mix there. It's pretty strong cold front, so I would say cold front there, situated right there, and then you kind of have your warm front setting up right there. Now this is not going to be a very strong warm front. Think about this outbreak that's keeping it to today, not tomorrow, but this outbreak from being significant is the lack of moisture and the lack of destabilization because of our last storm system. If you remember, the big tornadoes in Illinois have wiped away most of the moisture, and this is hard for it to repel back, or not repel, bring its way back into the Midwest, Mid-South, back the way it was when we had those storms so far north. As you can see, our 60s dew points, which is where we want to see, are all the way down here, and that's not what we want. We want, well, for severe weather, we want those to be all the way up here for a big time severe weather threat. But since the wind shear is going to be so dynamic today, so crazy today, we only need a little bit of moisture to cause this. Now, I do think these dew points are overperforming a little bit. You can see these are not overperforming, but this is going to be a threat for more prefrontals around here, only going to enhance that threat. But these are looking a lot better than what the models were showing. I have a weather station. I live in Middle Tennessee. So our dew point was forecasted to be about 52 right now. We're sitting around the mid to upper 50s right now. Temperatures are high. The dew points are only going to increase into the night as the winds pick up and move it from the Gulf into where we're looking at. But that is what we're looking at right now for real-time mesoscale analysis. We can hit playback right here, and you can see this moisture getting pulled up north and pinched by that boundary. All right, so our low is situated right here, about right there. That's where our low pressure system is situated, with that warm front up there and that cold front down there. You can see Cape values around 1,000, 2,000, and these 200 sparse little 200, 100 contours, which is not very good for severe weather. So later on in the day, it does say we're going to get this Cape moving up into these areas, but we're going to have to continue to watch this to see if the models are going to continue to keep these moving up the way it is. So last thing we're going to look at is our 500 millibar analysis. So this is our upper level winds. So we do have a jet streak, so an area of faster moving winds in the jet stream. So the jet stream, you can see. So our trough is neutrally tilted. So the negative tilt would be if our trough was looking like this, but our trough is looking just like a U shape almost. So we want it to be more like a U shape that's tilted like this for severe weather. It'll turn into that tomorrow. So that's why tomorrow's threat is going to be worse. But this 90 knot contour right here, this bullseye, this is going to move off into the Tennessee Valley later today, and that's going to cause those higher wind shear values into the night. So if we go forward with this, you can see our trough really starts to take on that negative tilt, and that jet stream kind of rounds the base into our risk area, which is going to allow for that tornado threat to ramp up overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. Now let's take a look at our HREF model, basically the ensemble for all of the convective models. So as you can see, this is the run from 12Z this morning, about 8 a.m. this morning, and it shows about what we've been looking at. What we're seeing on this is the mean, not the max. So we're seeing this cold front right here, and we're seeing our warm front right here, and you can see we're getting these Cape values just enough for severe weather, or just enough for significant severe weather right in these areas. That's where I'm worried about prefrontal storms later on today. That's where that 10% is, that rain risk there is where those winds are going to be. The wind shear is going to be the highest right there with the where it's coexisting with the Cape as well. So going into tomorrow, you can see our Cape kind of dies out, but right there on our secondary zone, our Cape kind of pulls back up. The line intensifies, re-intensifies as that Cape moves up. Pretty strong energy down there. And then tomorrow, our Cape will ramp back up. But today, it looks like the kind of Mississippi River Delta area is going to be the most favored corridor for significant severe weather today. So taking a look at our 500 millibar map, the same map we looked at on the mesoscale analysis, we're going to move forward. And as you can see, that jet streak we drew is going to round the base, and we're going to see this negative neutral tilt trough almost, where we have this trough tilted like this, and we have these big winds right here. You can see this is a very favorable wind shear profile for this time of year as well. So as you can see, these winds are going to help the tornado risk today, and it's also going to help tomorrow's risk. As you can see, that negative tilt kind of moves in this U, and that's going to move into continue to amplify, to intensify in strength as it moves into the northeast and mid-Atlantic tomorrow. Now, taking a look at our storm let's take a look at our STP. So significant tornado parameter. Today, you see that STP bullseye right in these areas, and then it kind of continues into the other risk area today. And then that STP continues to ramp up tomorrow in our risk zones right there. So tomorrow is going to be I think tomorrow's going to be worse than today by a long shot in terms of significant tornadoes. I think today is going to be more wind, but that STP is very, very strong up there, 2 to 4. We only need about 0.5 or more to produce tornadoes, and we're looking at 2 to 4 in these areas. So that is going to be where the significant threat is going to be here today. So I'll draw that in our circle, most likely to be here today for tornadoes. And then tomorrow, we've got that whole risk, but mainly just these areas down here where that moderate risk is for tornadoes tomorrow. Let's take a look at the old trusty HRRR, the best convective model, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the models for today. So today, we're looking at this kind of small little line of convection. You can see this. Actually, I don't have it pulled up right now, but you can see this on radar. It's happening right now. You can see this is going to kind of re-intensify over the day. Now, what I do want to mention on this newest HRRR run is we've got prefrontal supercells here, supercells down here, and then our main line where the forcing is and everything is going to be lagging behind a little bit. So today you can see we've got supercells blowing up around the Mississippi River area. And then that line, it's all going to continue to turn a little bit more linear, but we still do have that supercell there, supercells there. And then this will kind of continue into the mid-south where these multicellular, supercellular activity continues into these areas. And that's where that clustering is going to happen. And that line, these line segments are going to start to bow out. As you can see, that line kind of bows out. And then our threat will shift down to the south for tornadoes. But into tomorrow, we have that big wind threat as that line kind of congeals. So I'm watching this area mainly for an upgrade to a 15% tornado, if any is going to happen, or a mention of a significant tornado there. That's where I think it would happen. That's our biggest tornado threat, where the supercells are going to be merging and where they're going to be interacting with the line and where the atmosphere is going to be good enough to produce significant tornadoes. So let's go ahead and take a look at a more southern sector. So the southeast going into today. Looking at the same time we did. Now moving forward, as you can see, we've got more cells kind of developing right as this line kind of fizzles out. You've got more cellular activity developing. Let's switch to the older run so we can take a look at this. Yes. So the line does the same thing. Some cellular activity does develop out in front of this line. Not looking as good as it was the other day, but then moving into tomorrow, our convection kind of re-intensifies over Florida and, South Carolina, North Carolina. Let's take a look at tomorrow's threat for using the HRRR. We're going to take a look at just all the sheer amount of convection we're going to have tomorrow. So starting off the day, We can see some cellular activity, some pop-up storms moving across the Carolinas that could cause a threat. And then our main line moves through. Now, I think South Carolina, North Carolina, these are going to be a broken line of cellular convection. So storms that are kind of in cells along a line, that's possible. And if that is the case, the truth, we're going to see that significant tornado threat, the STP right here, kind of ramp up right as that line kind of exits and where those parameters get good. That line is going to cause a lot of damaging winds and embedded tornadoes as well as it moves through the mid-Atlantic. Tomorrow seems to be a much more favorable tornado threat. And also, take a look at this. I'm going to turn on the precipitation type. We have just had possibly tornadoes in Tennessee, possibly today. We are looking at snow on the back end of this storm as well, as far south as Huntsville, Birmingham, Alabama. That's going to be insane. We could see this even into Georgia. Snow flurries into Georgia. Now, none of this is going to really accumulate, obviously, as today our ground is at warm temperatures as the sun comes in. Then it's going to flash freeze and it's going to get really cold. And that snow, the ground is still going to be warm, so the snow is just going to melt. But the chance of seeing snow this late into March and this far south is crazy. It just shows the sheer power of this storm system. This is the NAM model, and we're going to be taking a look at tonight into tomorrow's threat. This is going to be lower quality, so we're not really going to be using this super crazy, but we're going to get higher quality soundings and atmospheric soundings out of this. So looking at Alabama, we're going to see that secondary threat ramp up in Alabama. Let's take a sounding there. So basically a sounding is a kind of like basically a scan of the atmosphere going up with height. So we talked about this if you watch my ice storm video, the soundings, these graphs of the atmosphere. So we looked at the ice, the favorability of ice, looking on the SCU-T, so the temperature and dew point and CAPE right there. But really what you want to take your eyes to is this hodograph. So as you can see right here, this thing right here is going to show, I'm going to talk about how this correlates with that. But you can see our wind vector right here is moving almost due north. So we're moving up. The winds are moving due north. And then we go up to about 850 millibars and they're moving to our east. So that's that wind change with height. And as you can see, this is the graph of the wind changes of height with height. Right here at our starting point, we have that due north wind. And then we have this curvature in the hodograph where the winds change. And that's going to allow for our storm relative helicity, or in our effective inflow layer to be around 350, which is amazing for tornadoes. With our most unstable CAPE and our SB CAPE being around 2,000 joules per kilogram, this is going to be a significant tornado sounding right here. This is a big time severe threat in Alabama tonight. This is I think this is going to get extended in the next couple of outlooks if this model comes to fruition, but that's going to be a significant threat down there. Now, moving into central Georgia, we'll take a sounding there later on in the night. So, yeah, same look almost. Really good curvature in the hodograph. Great CAPE. This is same thing I have to say about Alabama. Significant tornado threat in those areas down there. Now, as this threat kind of tapers off into the night, it will reignite into tomorrow, and then we'll see the STP values increase. Let's take one up near the Lancaster area in Pennsylvania tomorrow, maybe like the DC Lancaster area, and we'll see what our sounding looks like there. Let's see here. And now we'll take another one down here in North Carolina, South Carolina border, southern North Carolina tomorrow. So, why are these not loading? We'll take another one down here as well, going forward a couple hours. So, oh my goodness. This is just the sheer value just the sheer impressiveness of tomorrow's storm really showing in this sounding. This is insane curvature. This is Lancaster, by the way. This is the northern side of the risk. We're looking at insane clockwise rotation here. We've got really good veering with the winds. We've got kind of more back surfaced winds, so moving more, northwest. And then we've got almost due northeast winds at about 800 to 700 millibars up in the sky. This is literally off the chart for how big this is. 400 effective inflow SRH. Big time tornado threat tomorrow. Big time. Significant tornadoes are definitely on the table for tomorrow, even in the northern risks. Cape is well into the 12,000 joules per kilogram area at surface based. Our 3 Cape around 87, so our lower Cape is still intense. And this sounding here, this sounding is insane. And we do have a little bit of contamination. I should take one farther east, but this will do for now. It's not very contaminated. Look at our hodograph. Look at the wind, the rotations. We're looking at 800 to 900 SRH down here. This is going to be insane wind shear. And as is that potential hazard type PDS tornado, this is going to be significant tornadoes tomorrow. I can't stress enough that I do think we will be upgraded to possibly a 30% tornado risk, so a high risk tomorrow, or a SIG 2 15%. Our Cape is still in the 1000s, so still adequate. Our moisture is around 65 for our dew points, and our hodograph is insane. This is some of the craziest kinematics wind shear I've seen in an event in the Mid-Atlantic in years, probably almost my whole life. Now, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to tell you, you need to be prepared in these areas. I'm very impressed with this setup. This is one of the craziest setups I've seen. So this is going to be a very intense situation for the Mid-Atlantic and East Coast. That's why everybody needs to be prepared. Let me pull up the outlooks again. In these areas for a very significant threat of severe weather tomorrow. Everybody does. Now that's going to wrap it up for today's discussion video. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of new format that I'm doing, where I'm kind of going more in depth with this, but still kind of trying to keep explaining what I'm showing to the people. So if you understood this video very well and you watched all the way to the end, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to keep these videos going and keep supporting me. I've had a lot of support over the last couple of days, and we're about to hit 200 subscribers. So if you could subscribe, that would mean a lot. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.